We do a lot of improvisation and they just cut it in the editing. We're like, oh my God, that was such a nice scene. And you were there on set and you liked it. Why did you cut it out now? They're like, listen, we're the writers. You just do your job.
So everyone, hi, this is MissMalini, and we are talking to the awesome cast of How to Sell Drugs Online Fast. And as you know, How to Sell Drugs Online Fast is a German coming-of-age comedy. And it's basically amazing how this guy decides to impress his former girlfriend, a nerdy teen, starts selling drugs online out of his bedroom, and soon becomes one of Europe's biggest dealers, as of course you do, which is kind of an amazing story, I have to say. Maximilian, you play Moritz, and I think it's kind of interesting that this is loosely based on a real person whose name is also Maximilian, and you met him. So tell me what that was like. Did you know it was based on a real guy, and what did it feel like to meet him?
Well, I knew it was based on a real guy, and I was pretty afraid of meeting him because I was afraid he's like a real gangster, boss, drug dealer. And when I met him, he's just like a very normal person, even more normal than Moritz. I mean, Moritz is nerdy and stuff and weird, and the real Maximilian is just like the normal German person you could imagine. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Actually, because we both have the same name, a lot of people really think that I'm Maximilian, like the real guy, and this is just like documentary fiction stuff. So I get a lot of messages on Instagram or like even on the streets if I could sell them some drugs or something.
I heard that you guys have social media handles for the characters. Is that true that they are on Instagram?
For our characters, we don't have social media accounts, but people often think that we really are we are in the show. So it's weird for them to see us in different settings and also in different roles because they only know us from that show.
But I think actually our accounts exist, but they're like on private. Like all the accounts you can see in the show, they're actually a real nephew.
Yeah, but we don't feed them or we don't post anything there.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of interesting, and I love that it's actually 6 episodes, so it's really pacey. It's a very easy binge watch. And I don't know if you've seen, but there are a ton of Indian YouTubers who have reviewed the show and talk about it and are super excited about watching it. And it's kind of amazing, right? When you have shows that come in different languages, how well they do. I have to say, Anna, your character I thought was so interesting because initially I just wanted to shake her and say, make up your mind. So what is her impact going to be in this next season? And how much more is she going to drive Moritz nuts?
I think for the first time in the show, she thinks of herself and is not like totally confused on what to do. She just does her thing. And that's really cool because you kind of can follow her thoughts and you see how she's also grown and how she wants to protect Moritz and like how she's still in his life, but she's not too involved. She also does her own thing and is following her own path. And that was really fun to play because she's not as confused as in the other seasons.
I was looking at both your Instagrams and I thought it was really cool, Maximilian. You put up this meme about how scriptwriters and actors have this clash about doing improvisation. So how much do you guys actually improvise your characters and what you say?
We're pretty close to the writers on this show, and sometimes we do a lot of improvisation and they just cut it in the end, in the editing. We're like, oh my God, that was such a nice scene and you were there on set and you liked it. Why did you cut it out now? They're like, listen, we're the writers. You just do your job. They're like very sarcastic to us and be like, oh, you're just the actors. We're the writers. But they're pretty young, the writers too. Like the youngest of them is like our age who writes the show. So yeah, it's a lot of fighting, but on a friendship base.
Yeah, and they also let us like put a lot of our own thoughts into the characters, like while they were writing. So we were always asked questions or what we think of this and that. And then sometimes, or actually the third season, most of the time they were even on set, the writers, and then they could put something in while we were filming a different scene. So that was really cool.
So I want to know from you guys, what's something that you improvised that didn't make it into the first 2 seasons?
I mean, do you remember the first season when we were like in the classroom and it was talking about the teacher having a poop behind the desk?
Yes.
It was in the scene, but then they cut it off. I was like really screaming at the teacher. I mean, Lena was there. I was telling them like being in the zoo and people shit in the classroom and they could carry their own shit out of the classroom. And I was just getting very furious, and the writers just cut it all off. And I was like, oh, that was such a nice scene.
Oh, well, that's good. Makes good extra footage. I also thought it was kind of cool because, you know, we watch all these shows and they're dubbed, and I really enjoy watching it with the subtitles and actually in the real language, because you get a lot more of the character. You get a feel. In the dubbed version, you don't really know who they are. I thought it was interesting that you actually went to audition for Lenny and not Moritz, and you had to write this scene. So we didn't know this, that when you guys audition for, you know, Netflix, you have to go and actually write a little mini scene in English based on the character. So I'd love to know from both of you, and what is it that you had put into your little audition piece?
I don't think for me that was the case. I don't know what he had to do, but for me, I came in the process really, really late. Like they were already casting for my character for like 4 weeks and they still didn't find anyone. And I think I was the last one on the last day. And I was just like, yeah, I don't really know what this is, what's going on. And then I see Maxi, and he's already, you can tell, like, he's been there like 5-6 times. He's so worn out. He like doesn't even want to know if he still wants to do it. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then we do a scene together and we kind of felt a connection and we just had a lot of fun. And then like 2 hours later, they called me and they were like, okay, I think we want you. And then he told me later that he has been there for like so many times. And I was like, well, for me, it didn't happen.
Well, that's really lucky. I guess you just, they saw you and they're like, oh my God, this is her. So tell me, what did you have to do in your audition scene? What is the kind of thing that you wrote? And you wrote it for Lenny.
Yeah, I wrote it for Lenny, and we just got like a little snippet of these are the characters, and it's about selling drugs and nothing more. Just Lenny sitting in the wheelchair, and I didn't really know why he was sitting in the wheelchair, and I was just thinking about sexuality, and I was telling the people there in the audition room how I would jerk off, but without being able to jerk off, and how I would lick my thumbs and put it in my ear and be like, oh yeah. Be satisfied by that. And I have no idea why they thought I could play Moritz while I was doing that, because they had nothing to do with Moritz. And they were like, yeah, what about you?
That's about weird enough. I also really like that you relate your character a little bit to Jesse Eisenberg from The Social Network. I can see that. I can see that he has that little sort of undertone to him. Can you tell us a little bit about what to expect from this new season?
Well, the new season is a lot about taking responsibility. And I mean, Moritz broke up with Lisa, Moritz broke up with his best friend Lenny and Danya, and he's like very much on his own. And he has to bring back my drugs, because if he won't, the Dutch people kill everyone he loves.
Yeah, that sounds pretty intense. I also love that it has so much like comedy, considering it's such a heavy subject and you're able to like make light of stuff. I was also like, I dug deep, you go like so deep into a show sometimes, and apparently there's no planet Saturn in your universe. I don't know if you guys knew this, and I wanted to know why, if you know.
No, have you seen this?
Yeah, I don't know why. I saw this on some like trivia thing, and I'm like, I wonder if this means something.
Everything in the show means something. Like sometimes we don't even get the connection that is made. And then like journalists like you find out, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know. So it probably means something, but no one told us.
I also saw on your Instagram that you like to knit, and you actually made 2 really cool sweaters for yourself. That's kind of an unusual hobby. Where did you pick that up?
I mean, during COVID, you try out everything. And like at one point it was so cold here, you couldn't even go out. So I told my grandma to just show me how it works. And there was something that I always wanted, but like I wanted a little vest, but I couldn't find it anywhere like exactly how I wanted it. So I just made it myself.
Very cool. I wonder, like, you guys are so young. What do your friends think now that you're in this like super hit show?
I mean, I think we forget, and that's good, because in the end, it really doesn't matter, and we're just ourselves. But it's funny when we're together, like, and we go somewhere, people immediately think of us, and then they come up and they ask questions, and I don't know, I forget all the time, and then I'm like, why are people looking? And then you remember again that for them it must be weird to see us together.
I think the cool thing is that not just young people are watching our show, or like teenagers, but also like older people and real adults. And like even colleagues from my mother recognize me and be like, "Oh my God, your son is playing in that show!" And they're like 40 or 50, and they also love it. And that's the weird or the cool thing.
That's awesome. Okay, before I let you guys go, I'd love to know if you can give us a little thing, something that everyone should look out for, a scene or a dialogue or something that's coming up in the new season that you think was awesome, that you want people to look for when they're watching the new season.
My favorite scene is the sushi scene. I'm only saying, just look out for some sushi. I laughed out, like I could, my stomach was hurting. It's very tiny, but the way he's eating sushi, it's priceless.
You should look out for the shots. So there's one time Lisa and Mart's gonna take some shots, and what's gonna happen to them.
All right, so shots and sushi. I have seen it, so I'm not going to give any spoilers out here, but I totally 100% agree. And finally, a message for all your fans in India.
Thank you guys for watching. Have fun and enjoy.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. I hope you're staying safe. And we are really excited for you. Congratulations. Can't wait for everyone to see the new season. Bye.